And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host Dan, aka smAsho. And we'll be talking about Sunspot 2770 and how it's grown, how big tech cannot break the internet, earthquakes, a little uptick there, and justice? What's that? We have two justice systems in the U.S., one for the rich and well-connected politician types, and the other for everybody else? Well, it's true. We'll get to it. First, we're going to look at the sun. It's a 94 angstroms 48-hour. It's the last 48 hours of solar activity here. Sunspot 2770 has grown a little bit. It remains beta class, although the weak trailing umbrae are not likely to really do very much, although they are the opposite polarity of the leading umbra, which now has significant penumbra as well. We'll show you all about it. So don't go anywhere, as there's plenty of stuff to cover. Take a look at the fields here, and we've got an animation of this also. And you can see here's the leading umbra, and these trailing umbrae, which are up here, those are all South Pole polarity. The leading umbra is North Pole polarity. Cycle 25. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. And also check it out. We got this interesting little shadow view here in 304 angstroms. Pretty cool. And here's the last day of the fields. We made a little custom movie here. And we don't see any big changes, but again, that has increased in its sunspottiness a little bit. There's the last day on 171 angstroms. And let's move on before the government tries to put us out of business. Let's talk about the 10.7 centimeter radio flux. It's now at 73. It's been at 73. And I just zoomed in here on the previous solar minimum, which we've clearly come out of. And so you got sunspot number progression there. And solar minimum was right here, if you're wondering, November of 2019. And there is the 10.7 centimeter radio flux progression over that same period, approaching the 75 mark. The KP index currently at 2, a measure of global geomagnetism. And we did see a B-class X-ray flare here right after midnight universal time today on August 6th. Just a small B-class flare, undoubtedly out of Sunspot 2770. No significant proton flux events. No surprises there. Although we do see an apparent coronal mass ejection strike, a little glancing blow here, as right in this area you can see the solar wind speed and density jump up and kind of all around at the same time. An indication of a little bit of stealthy ejecta striking the magnetosphere, most likely. We've got a phi angle that's currently flirting with a 180-degree mark here. And as forecasted, we see an uptick in earthquakes following that high-speed coronal hole wind stream. As it turns out, high proton levels correlate with earthquakes. Anyway, the current phi angle is around 200 degrees. Current solar wind density 8.34 protons per cubic centimeter. That's solar wind density 9.05 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed just under 500 kilometers a second, as it's remaining elevated here. And I just wanted to show you this experimental product here, the geoelectric field. And when we get more significant coronal mass ejection style events, this will become relevant, as it could give you some indication where power outages will happen. We won't worry about it today. Now, one of the things that I do is when I look at all these tabs, folks, I look through them backwards. And one of the things I'm able to figure out is by looking at this density image, I can figure out about what the solar wind density is, at least whether it's above 5 or below 5. And that's why we're showing you the density today. You can see the magnetosphere is pressed back. High density shown in dark blue, low density shown in white. Next, looking at the pressure. And we see some variations here over the past 4 hours. The geospace magnetosphere movies are a standard issue portion of the daily space weather for all you new viewers out there who are not aware. Next, coming a little closer to home here to look at ground magnetic perturbations. And we see some significant ones here, both over the Canadian North Pole, not so much the Siberian North Pole, and the South Pole, which is somewhere down here south of Australia, somewhere in this area, probably something like right here, well off of the Antarctic continent during this geomagnetic excursion. And we've graduated to another episode of the Smash Lights, where I explain why I have a blue flame behind my head. It's because if you thought I was angry yesterday, well, I'm more angry today. Why? Because of ridiculous oppression. So let's talk about assisting mankind by advancing the study of predictive phenomenon in order to optimize value, reduce risk and liability, and save lives and resources, and adapt no matter what the adversity is. Whether it's an insane, oppressive government doing insane things to you. Well, I'm not usually a victim of government oppression, but this year in 2020, it's become crystal clear who the oppressors are and what kind of nonsense, crazy cash grabs these pathetic government organizations are doing. So first of all, let's talk about Pennsylvania's top COVIDiots. Here you've got former NCAA linebacker Dr. Rachel Levine, and then you've got Governor Tom Wolf, Pennsylvania's top COVIDiots, because whatever this COVIDiot says, this COVIDiot makes into statewide mandates. These people appear to know nothing about infectious diseases, and they've provided no clear guidance for Pennsylvania, and I'm considering filing lawsuits against both Tom Wolf, Rachel Levine, and the state of Pennsylvania for its pathetic and infantile response. Now, it's not as pathetic as Andrew Cuomo, whose state is literally the worst place in the whole world for coronavirus. Your dead family members now in a better place, smiling down on my brilliant governance. Boy, that's a great nursing home you've got there. Be a shame if it was forced to accept coronavirus tested positive patients, That's a lovely government there. Be a shame if it got dismantled, The point is, when these bureaucrats come after you, make them engage in a waiting game and drag them to court over and over again and get them audited. Because it'll probably expose their corruption and possibly break their power structure. Let's talk about 3 organizations that can help you do that. The Southern Poverty Law Center, and I know all you conservative types out there are not appreciative of the Southern Poverty Law Center, but if you're broke and you need the justice system to work for you instead of against you for once, perhaps they'll help you. Also, the ACLU. It's a real thing. If the government's violating your civil liberties, maybe contact them. And also the Institute for Justice. It's ij.org. And please get back to me, ij.org. I have limited time. And I'm charged with going out and testing the food supply every day. And meanwhile, all kinds of things are happening behind the scenes that you don't even want to know about. I'll talk about it in a later video, perhaps. Maybe I'll do a riding/driving/pro driving tips. Because let's just say Pennsylvania is fucked up right now. And so I have Lehigh County coming after me, threatening to schedule me for more court dates if I don't agree to a phone call about how I'll pay a fine from an appeal from a hedge-cutting complaint about code enforcement, who, by the way, is completely inept, unprofessional, and incoherent as to what we're supposed to do to get back into code. And the stuff at the state level, you don't even know. We're thinking about filing a state-level appeal on their stupid, idiotic code enforcement case. It's a complete joke. It's absolutely pathetic. Please leave us a comment. If your government is inept and how it's inept, maybe we can join forces. Speaking of joining forces, thanks to our patrons, consider becoming a patron if you haven't already done so. Smash staff needs a raise, and we need lots more funding just to remain in existence. Because again, I've got fines coming in that you would not believe. I believe it's going to get into the thousands of dollars, and it will probably cause me to quit my job and sue my employer, if you're wondering. We're also on Subscribestar. Please visit the links below the video. Now, talking social media, we are live on Twitch right now. Thanks everybody who subscribes over there. And one of the reasons that we do live streams on Twitch and not on YouTube as often is because of this pathetic nonsense. So you see right here, our largest video of the past 3 days, 82 views, limited monetization. This is one of the many ways that YouTube shadow bans you. And what this does is this causes you to be buried in search. So the video will never get recommended. And by the way, yesterday's clip was the first time we made a Smash Light standalone segment. We didn't include it in the Daily Space Weather. Google, trying to break the internet as the internet breaks Google. And we're hoping the SEC will investigate Google for misleading its shareholders. Also Facebook and Twitter, and probably Apple. Now we are also on BitChute. Thanks to all our subscribers over there. Look for more exclusive content coming soon, as our YouTube channel could be deleted at any moment, and we make approximately nothing from Google AdSense. So if you're watching ads on YouTube, guess what? We're not really getting paid from it. Google is getting paid by it, and it's wasting your time. If you haven't checked out smashomash.org, it's going to redirect you to smashomash.com. They're sister sites right now. Eventually they will diverge. Anyway, we're growing our organization, and it's taken a long time, and it's a major slog. So please consider supporting it. Visit the channel and the links and so on. One of the value-added features that we have is smashomash.com/forum. Thanks everybody for signing up over there. Now up to 1,382 users. Hey Mothra, we hope you figured out how to log in. So yeah, please log in. You'll have to set up a password, and you have to send an email, registration link. You'll have to click on that to verify that you're a real email address. smashomash.com/forum. We'll let you talk about whatever you want, whether you're trying to debunk relativity or log solar events or personal fails. And we're looking to put some new features here in the new users section. By the way, it's all free to view. If you don't want to log in, you can still view all of the sites. We have no paywall yet, but there's one coming. Speaking of paywalls, have you checked out smashomash.com/affiliate? Yeah, smashomash.com/affiliate. We've got products listed, and we'll be receiving our Zacurate Series 500 DL pulse oximeter today. We're also selling you L-lysine, MSM, which is methylsulfonylmethane, almond flour, calcium/zinc/magnesium tablets to take before bed to protect your cells, and Shugu. Yes, Shugu. So visit our links. If you're planning on purchasing any of these products, please do it via our links and help support the channel that way with some physical objects. And let's talk about COVID. Oh my God, it's the scariest, spookiest virus since the common cold. Yeah, it's not particularly scary. It's not particularly spooky. It's cheap plastic, and it's made in China. So if you haven't learned how to say China yet, let's do another lesson. When you learn to speak for the theater, you speak from deep within your loins. When you say China, you want to say it out just the top of your face. China, as if you have a sinus infection. China, spelled C-H-I-D-A. Captain, sensors indicate censorship, fraud, political bias, and spyware emanating from big tech. Who would have thunk it? Well, everybody who's paid attention for the last 10 years at least, as Google search has been broken for at least 10 years, probably more like 15, but I noticed about 10 years ago. Since Google is a scam and not a verb, it's lying to its shareholders. Do you own Google stock so that you can achieve biased search results by using their junkware search engine. By the way, the second biggest search engine in the world is YouTube. So the biggest search engine in the world is Google. The second one's YouTube. And by the way, YouTube and Google are both owned by parent company Alphabet. Yes. Oh, yes. So, yeah, if you own their stock, in order for them to shadow ban the truth and reality and bury all kinds of legit information in search while promoting nonsense about UFOs in clouds and other silly, ridiculous channels who are making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month on Google AdSense while our channel toils in anonymity. Facebook has deleted a tweet as well as a Facebook post from Trump for the first time, citing coronavirus information. Why? Because he said children are less likely to become infected. And it's actually correct, and what a joke. What a joke. Hey, Facebook, you're misleading your shareholders. Twitter, you're misleading your shareholders. Alphabet, you're misleading your shareholders. Because even my most leftist friends, I believe, still appreciate the Constitution to the point that they would prefer to not have me silenced. Now, some of them may want me silenced because they can't argue with my obvious facts. But you'll see this all over the internet today. Twitter bans the Trump campaign until it deletes tweet with COVID-19, quote, misinformation, end quote. Isn't that special? So it's going to be a lovely year in 2021 when Trump gets reelected by a landslide. Because, by the way, if you weren't aware, presidents during crises get reelected 98% of the time. So statistically speaking, since we've got a very scary and spooky and scary and spooky, hey, global pandemic going on right now, that increases the likelihood of Trump getting reelected, not decreases it, especially because the media has created such hysteria and spread such misinformation. By the way, Trump's not spreading misinformation. He's correct about children being very unlikely to develop symptoms and hence very unlikely to develop a high viral load to cough on you with. And their immune systems seem to be working better because they're not exposed to all kinds of stress and nonsense associated with regular old adult life. So nice job, Facebook. Mark, you're looking a little bit pale there. Are you getting worried? Have you bought yourself a castle in Seychelles yet? Well, sorry, Mark. I don't know what to tell you. In 2021, you may find yourself having a rough year. Also, Sundar Pichai and Susan Wojcicki and Larry Page and Eric Schmidt and Sergey Brin and whoever the guy is from Twitter, you better. Well, I don't think you really have time to change your maneuvers now anymore. I think it's far too late for you. Big tech, you can't break the internet, but the internet can break you. Enjoy that. And by the way, hey, SEC. Are you familiar with the SEC? It stands for the Securities and Exchanges Commission. Why does that matter? Because the Securities and Exchanges Commission prevents companies like Google and Facebook and Twitter, and probably to a lesser extent Apple also, because it's engaging in censorship as well. The SEC investigates financial crimes, which misleading your shareholders is a financial crime. Big tech companies enjoy that. If you need to reach us for any breaking news stories, or if you have images or anything that you'd like us to share with the viewers, you can reach us at the smAsho VoIP line. You can send a text. You can call country code +1, area code 610-936-9799. That's country code 1, area code 610-936-9799. And also visit the smAsho store at teespring.com. It's also linked at smashomash.org. It says smAsho store. Just go there. If you'd like to get yourself a pair of smAsho leggings, maybe in yellow to make your butt look bigger. I don't know. It could be a thing. It's got the Smasher Price My First Pandemic printed on the calves. We've also got a Mansa shirt and a Mensa shirt. Make Earth not suck again, folks. It's up to you. Have personal responsibility and buy yourself some merch. I'm not wearing any today, but we'll be modeling more soon on the channel. And thanks for tuning in to another Smash Lights episode, the segment where we talk about whatever we want, and then I vanish and move on to more stuff. The next thing we're going to look at is the GOES magnetometer data. And it's remaining spiky and kind of all over the place, and we're surprised to see the apparent weakening of the south solar polar field. It's the only explanation I have because of what you're about to see next. It's the GONG-2 data. So we appear to still be in the North Pole oriented current sheet here, shown in green. And I've been expecting us to snap across into the South Pole current sheet for a couple days here. This is an indication that the south solar polar field is weakening, especially in light of so much activity in the north. We won't get into the heliophysics of it today, as it's the daily space weather video. The data is 1 hour and 46 minutes old and can change suddenly. Here's the line of sight field plot, which shows your B field in blue. The B field of a magnet is the magnetic field that goes through the magnet, and it's all associated with the poloidal field. So here's the south poloidal field, shown in purple. Here's the north poloidal field. And the combination of these two fields where they overlap is what is the B field. It's the interplanetary magnetic field on which you live. And it tells us things about things like the solar cycles and the solar polar field strength, just by looking at a visual analysis. So again, surprising that we're not in the South Pole current sheet yet, an indication that it's likely that the south solar polar field is weakening, and we'll look at solar polar fields at a later time. Here's the 1-year chart of electron flux, and you can see the highest levels that we've seen here since February of 2020. So there you go. We got into warning levels yesterday, and you can see well into warning levels, actually. And the peak was around 1640 Universal Time. And our patrons noticed that we actually send out electron flux warnings. So that's another reason to become a patron, folks. You'll receive warnings that nobody else sees, period. It's not an early release. It's a you don't see it. So here's a total electron content forecast. And we see slightly higher levels of electrons reflected in this little animation. Nothing too crazy. It's come back down a little bit now. And here you can see the relativistic forecast model, expecting this to level off according to NASA and NOAA. Next, we're going to look at just one layer of the air column instead of all the layers like the total electron content forecast. This is just the ionosphere. And it's looking pretty normal here, actually. Let's bring up the latest image and move on. Latest image is at 8:30 Universal Time. Nothing to write home about there. Here's where stuff is in the solar system. And by the way, if you want to see Mercury swinging around the backside of the sun, head to the Stereo A Core 2 space beacon. The coronagraph at Stereo A will show you Mercury coming around from the backside of the sun. It's part of the Integrated Space Weather Analysis Center. It's on page 7 of the Sun tab. There's where things will be in a week. And I can't wait for the next new moon. I need a new everything. Please support the channel and increase the probability that I'll get a new anything and keep these videos coming out. Next, looking at a star chart. As I'm always interested in what's going on over my head, as especially this thing, Deneb, which is the brightest intrinsic object that we can see in the entire galaxy. And it's an object at which megalithic sites such as Göbekli Tepe appear to be oriented. It's also our north celestial pole star at the other end of the, quote, precessional cycle. Anyway, if you're up before dawn, you'll see Venus and Mars and Jupiter and Saturn and the moon. Perhaps, if you don't have cloudy skies. Next, looking at the last 24 hours of earthquakes, and we see a big uptick here, actually, starting with this one, which came in just under 24 hours ago. A 5.3 north of Svalbard, quite close to the geographic North Pole, really. About an hour later, we see a 4.6 at extreme depth at Vanuatu. Let's move this. There we go. It's a 4.6 magnitude at over 630 kilometers. Extreme depth for that quake. Largest of the past 24 was this 6.4 at Vanuatu, and perhaps things aren't even done shaken there. as this 6.4 magnitude quake was at 174.8 kilometers depth. If you're in these areas, please have an earthquake plan. Have a bug-out bag. Plan to be an asset, not a liability, in the event of a disaster. I'll put a square around Cascadia as well. Those are the areas that I would watch. Know which building facades may collapse. If you can't afford a bug-out bag, just have some idea. Having any idea that a quake may happen is more preparation than none, as surprise is not a good look for people trying to deal with a disaster. Continuing up the list here, one of the largest quakes we've seen in Alaska for quite a while. It's a 5.2 magnitude out in the Aleutian Islands. Shallow in the Aleutian Islands, not too far out in the Pacific. Here's another deep quake at Papua New Guinea. It's a 5.0 at nearly 100 kilometers depth. Here's another deep quake at the Bande Sea, a 4.5 magnitude at 452 kilometers. Here's a 4.7 at Fiji. That one coming in only a few seconds after this Bande Sea quake. So there you see a 4.5 at the Bande Sea, followed by a 4.7 at practically the exact same time in Fiji. The depth there, 594 kilometers. Small deep quake in the Caribbean. Here's a deep quake at Japan, so it's a significant deep quake event, folks. And just a couple of hours ago, we see another deep quake at the Mariana Islands. It's a 4.3 at 535 kilometers depth. We see a downtick in volcanoes here, although Nishinoshima still exploding. And that's an uptick at Nishinoshima. Flight level 130, 13,000 feet is the ash plume at Nishinoshima. Subanusejima, flight level 070, 7,000 feet. Revenador's volcanic ash cloud has dispersed, and Sabancaya is still exploding. It's producing a 24,000 foot above sea level plume of ash. Please do not attempt to do a handspring or a double backflip with a full twist over the caldera. Let's talk about why fish don't get struck by lightning often. Here at AccuWeather's summer camp. Well, why is it? Well, it's because there's some oil on the surface of the water, and fish usually don't swim right on the surface. And that's why they're okay. Is that an invitation for you to go swim? Well, not really. Don't swim in a thunderstorm. Get the heck away from the water, as you'll probably be at the surface. And that's why fish aren't usually struck. You can read all about it at AccuWeather.com in the news section. Here's weather.gov's map. Nothing too exciting happening there, although we do see some continuing flood watches in the mid-Atlantic. Pressure maps here on windy.com. We're going to advance this into tomorrow. Windy.com has a great mobile app as well. You may want to download that for your smartphone. It's free. And there's where things will be at 1 p.m. my time tomorrow. Moving on to nullschool.net. Here are the jet streams, and we see this extreme meridional jet stream flow. Here's the jet stream blowing in the wrong direction, east to west. Here are the jet streams of the western world, also all over the place. Lightningmaps.org is where I like to go for real-time lightning maps. And I see some lightning around Baltimore. Hey, Baltimore, there's thunder rolling in. Next time you hear thunder, convince your foes that you're Thor or Odin or something and impress your friends at lightningmaps.org. Yes, you can forecast thunder. Again, Baltimore, there's thunder rolling in. Leave a comment if you heard it. Next, looking at water vapor maps for Europe and Africa. Water vapor maps for the Far East and Oceania. How about a water vapor map for the Americas? How about me smacking this thing and then vanishing? Oh, I'm still here. Let's try again. There we go. I did it. Next, looking at the U.S. Doppler Radar Map. There's what's going on in the U.S. By the way, if you want to see clouds at nighttime, check out the Band 7 3.9 nanometer shortwave infrared radiation satellite from the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite. Here's the U.S. water vapor map. Nothing too exciting there. Let's move on and thank the SMASH team Please share on your social media. Please comment. Please visit the links below the video and support the channel, as we are about to go broke and go out of existence. Thanks for flying American Smashways. Please keep your head and arms inside the Smash plane at all times. We're going to bring up one more video here. It's the 304 angstroms, and we're also going to show you the fields and the intensity gram. So here are the fields associated with Sunspot 2770, and we see blurry images once again today. I don't know what's up with it, but we definitely do see North Pole polarity followed by South Pole polarity umbre, making it remain a beta class sunspot. Here's the most current image, and it's also blurry, but we can see that there are definitely umbre here, and they are opposite polarity. It's beta class, it's settled. And here's a 48-hour video from the SDO of the local yellow dwarf in 304 angstroms. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Don't forget to stare at the sun, attempt to understand the physics. And since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back, and that covidiocy and government graft, waste, fraud, and abuse absent from wherever you're located. Well, it just doesn't go out, does it?